apparently recently, I've been pretty obsessed with cats and cat games. And while scrolling through my millions and millions and oh my god, millions of cat memes on Instagram, I saw a reel of a game that reminded me a lot of the Untitled Goose Game back from a few years ago. The game itself looks pretty fun and lighthearted, and it turned out just to be that, a game with a lot of funny hidden gems, kind of like the Untitled Goose Game. The last game I made a video on, Stray, is a cat game, but it's nothing like this one. The story for Little Kitty Big City is so much more lighthearted than Stray that I don't think I can really compare the two. Yet, the two gave me the same good feeling completing them, despite their differences. Regardless, the game itself definitely is a unique kitty game, and as redundant as it is to say that, it definitely is a better cat game out there. The story of Little Kitty Big City is pretty short, sweet, and to the point. It's about a kitty who violently falls from his little perch of his safe haven in his human's house and wanders about the world after never seeing it since he's a fairly spoiled inside cat, and he meets various little quirky characters. These little characters range from other kitties, like my favorite, the mayor kitty, to the ducklings that get lost. The story of this game is fairly short and to the point. If you are looking for a story game, this definitely isn't it. The story, if you only focus on completing it without any side quests, probably takes around an hour to 2 hours. I took around 3 to 4 hours because I explored most of the game. The story itself is perfect, wholesome, and overall probably one of the cutest ones I've seen in a while. The gameplay for this game is interesting at the very least. The silly side quests and characters you run into that give you unique challenges are surprisingly fun and make up a lot of the playtime in this game. The game runs smoothly for me with a modern Nvidia 30 series graphics card and a Ryzen 7 CPU. And the graphics do look fairly good for this type of indie game, but the controls are really where the game starts to lag a bit. The controls are kind of confusing at first, and I tried a few times to remap my control settings I used to play the game, and it just didn't work. I remapped the run button from the right bumper to the right trigger, and instead the RB would make me swat with his hand, but the trigger wouldn't let me run at all. It just wouldn't work. Aside from that, I feel as if the jumping mechanic where you had to aim your jump is kind of annoying. It felt like the climbing mechanic in Assassin's Creed, as it just doesn't move how you want it to move at all, or almost ever. And it does get frustrating once you try to climb a building the size of 3 Empire State Buildings, and you end up falling practically like 6 stories. Regardless of the controller issues, the game does operate a bit like Untitled Goose Game because of the unorthodox controls. The game also has achievements for those who want to collect achievements and 100% the game. And finally, most importantly, the game has hats. The silly little hats you can collect around the map, and by playing the thieving crow gotcha machines, are pretty cute. And they can let you look like your favorite internet cat. My personal favorite is the orange hat. Little Kitty Big City was a cute game with a very wholesome feel-good story, and my experience with it was positive for the most part. The game gave me a good 3 to 4 hours of playtime and fun, but even with that, I don't believe the price point was optimal for such a game. The game itself was fun, but it hurt my wallet a lot more than the game was worth, especially since the game is extremely short and purely for the novelty. Indie games are fun to play for a little bit, but in the end, unless it has an extremely impactful story, community, or online service, a price above $15 is kind of overkill, especially for a game like this. Small Kitty Big City is unique for an indie game, yet most indie games are. This one though definitely works off the wholesome feel-good story and the gameplay. The cute game mechanics and the small little characters you encounter are definitely what makes the game. This game does a lot of things well, like character design and gameplay, yet it also does a lot of things bad, like trolls and being overpriced. The game is fun. It's definitely a game worth playing if you have free time and like cats, but it's not a game I would encourage people to actively seek out and play unless you have an Xbox Game Pass, where you can play for free. This game can definitely be summed up by one phrase: kitty.